This conference will now be recorded.
I need the microphone, don't I? It's 1 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. So if everyone that can stand, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Thank you. Good.
Okay, roll call. Marie Beshen,
Present?
Roberta Ernest,
Here.
Marilyn Sorensen,
Here.
Becca Paulson,
Here.
Steve Deal,
Here.
Jennifer Ellswick,
Here.
and Cindy Evans. Here. Okay, all board members are present, so we do have a quorum. Homeowner statement period. In person, speaker may speak for no more than 2 minutes. If attending virtually, please mute your audio. Please use the chat option for questions. Comments should be directed to concerns of the motion before the board takes formal action on an item under formal discussion on the table. Negative comments directed at residents, employees of the association, or board of directors will not be allowed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can we have Marilyn entertain a motion regarding the,
I would like to move to approve the minutes from February 8th, 2024 Board of Directors meeting and February 2024 Board of Directors business meeting.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Next on the agenda is the committees.
No, financial report.
Oh, financial report. I apologize. Becca?
I move to accept the January 2024 financials.
Second.
I second.
Dawn, would you? My thing's going out.
Yes, hello. As of January 31st, the cash balance in the operating was $677,746. In the reserves, $4,011,417. In activities, $231,349. In the food is now zero. We transferred the money to operating since Chef Peters is running the chuck wagon. In the clubs, 509. Asset improvement, 1,014,264.
I'd just like to add that for January, our interest to date, year to date, so from May through January is a little over $116,000.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Now we'll hear from the committees. The first one up is the Budget Committee. Roberta?
I move to approve Bill Powell as committee chair to the Budget Committee for a 2-year extension.
Second.
Any comments or? Oops, I'm sorry, Bill.
I decline to extol his virtues.
You repeat that, Bill.
No. Any comments? No? Call for the vote? All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations, Bill. You do a marvelous job.
I motion to approve Diana Edwards as a member to the Communications Committee.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor? Aye. So passed. The next is the DRC. Marilyn? No. Cindy?
I move to approve Floyd Belden and Tom Corkle as members of the DRC committee. Tom will be a voting member and Floyd will be a non-voting member.
Second.
Any comments?
Okay, so this just fits in line with our CCNRs where it says 3 to 5 members on the board or on the DRC, and then with the state statute where it talks about the chairperson from the board as the liaison is a voting member. So just to make sure people out in the audience understands, we still only have 5 voting people and 1 non-voting member.
Anything else? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passed. Okay, I believe that's all the committees. Okay. Aye, already. All right. Okay. The next motion on the floor is to approve the budget committee's to establish a study group to investigate all aspects of covering the pools and spas when not in use, with a target date for implementation of covering spas by October 1st of 2024 and pools by October 1st of 2025.
Second.
Bill, would you explain?
Let me provide you with a fair amount of background to this. From the 2021 fiscal year through the 2023 fiscal year, our natural gas costs rose 62%, or $42,900. During that same period of time, fiscal 21 and to 23, the amount of gas we consumed in therms went up 0.6%, so it's dead flat. 2024 fiscal year, at the end of 10 months, we're at $113,325 compared to last year of 12 months of $112,039. So we are, if I use the same figures for March and April as we had last year, we are going to be at $143,000 for natural gas this year, which is a 100% increase in 3 years. All of the natural gas at Happy Trails, with the exception of a minuscule amount in the chuck wagon, is used for pool and spa heating. We have 4 pools and 9 spas. The natural gas usage for spas is estimated to be, for next year, $44,000. Natural gas for pools next year is estimated to be $86,000. At that same time period next year, we estimate the evaporation losses from our pools to be between 800,000 and 1 million gallons. Pool chemicals just for the pools in an annual basis is $7,500. And I have to admit, I neglected to get the spa number, but it's in a similar range. So about $15,000 for chemicals. The U.S. Department of Energy indicates that covering pools and spas can save 30 to 50% of your energy costs for doing that. And the Southwest, it's to the 50% or higher number. So therefore, if we would begin to cover our pools and spas for next year, we can look at pool savings of $60,000 and spa costs of $30,000, plus chemicals of about another $10,000 to $12,000. Now, covering pools and spas is somewhat controversial and is not without some concern by residents and management. So our motion is that a study group we put together this summer to take a look at what would be done. I'm projecting savings here of a little over $100,000. That's savings. That does not count the cost of the covers or the cost of replacement of the covers. There will be some attrition to that number, but we're talking about a number over $100,000. So we'd like a group put together composed of budget, BGM, management, a board of director, and residents. I know there's a pool committee out there, group out there already, to look at the type, the quality, and expected life of pool covers, to validate our cost-saving numbers, which came from the Department of Energy. Storage of pool covers when not in use, what time periods the pools will be covered, and what manpower might be used to cover and uncover, any safety concerns, including people that might fall in on top of a cover, and there could be some insurance implications. Anyways, right now in the month, our gas usage follows the opposite of temperatures. So as we go into April, our gas usage is going to fall way off. So through the summer months, there will be very minuscule amount of gas used and such. So if we would know, we could have an answer in place for the spas for October, and we know the pools will be more complicated. They're bigger covers. Enrolling's is a challenge. So anyways, there's some things there. And then spend another year looking at the pools. We at least can get the beginning of the savings. Obviously, it'd be nice to get all of it at one time. So our recommendation is the committee give it together with their recommendations implemented by October 1st.
So Bill, if I understand this right, the study group would monitor the usage or the bill, I would say, the cost of operating the pools and the spas throughout the summer to see what they are, so that if we put a cover over it, it would bring that down? Is that?
For the last, one of the things that's happened is, and you probably don't realize this, but Bob House, one of our committee members, spends hours every month breaking our gas bills down to per gas meter. There's 6 gas meters. And we have an 8-year track record of what every month costs us in gas consumption. We can look at it in therms and we can look at it in dollars. So we've got a real good feel for what will happen. The question is, what covers should be used? There's covers that can be put on from $29 to $400 on a spa. There's a whole big range there. What's the life of it? What's the effort to get it off? What's the best way to rack it up? And the whole series of those things. It's basically the operational questions. At the same time, all of our numbers came from a couple of Department of Energy publications. There's, as we meet with pool cover people, they certainly are going to have numbers also for Arizona and what, validating those numbers also.
Marie, I think what we want, at least after listening to the discussions in the budget committee, what we want is a group put together to really look at what's feasible and how we would do it. If it's not feasible, then we don't move forward. But all the implications, we've got safety, we've got time, personnel, putting the covers on, taking them off. Do we do it all the time for the spas, or do they go on just in the evenings when everybody's done? There are a multitude of questions that need to be considered. So I think that's what the group is for.
Agreed. And Bill, I just want to clarify, because you used the word cost inadvertently, and I think that was just by mistake. So we are looking at a potential of $60,000 savings for pools, $30,000 savings for spas.
Correct.
Then you're also looking at potential chemical savings estimated for the pools anyways at $7,500, but you don't have the estimated cost savings for the spas on chemicals.
Right.
Okay.
In addition to that, 1 million gallons of water.
Yes.
Fortunately, at this point in time, water is not overly expensive. I didn't put a number down. I want to remember it before $5,000. But the biggest thing is they're going to start limiting us someday, and we better get a heads up on it.
Okay, thank you.
I will comment just from my perspective, saving the water, the gallons, is really not going to be that much if it's open all day long. When the pools are closed at night, that savings goes down tremendously without the sun.
Actually, it's the opposite of that. The Department of Energy has quite a bit of information on that, and more evaporation occurs in the evenings than it does during the day. I was quite surprised. And there's a series of formulas that predict evaporation. And when you put in nighttime temperatures, daytime temperatures, and all that, it doesn't do a good job of predicting exactly what number will be, but it predicts whether it'll be higher or lower, and it's much higher at night.
Wow. I would have never guessed that. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, all right.
Brian Souders, Lot 38. I can take you back in the history of Happy Trails when all our pools and spas were covered. It goes back time frame approximately 3 managers ago. NC1 pool was covered every evening, and the hot tub was covered by volunteers. NC2 pool and hot tub were covered by volunteers out of the water volleyball group. The town center pool was covered by a paid employee to come back. He lived close after hours. At that time, we were starting to run out of volunteers, so a message was put out to the manager at that time, could we get some more volunteers? 2 days later, all the covers were taken away. They were stored up by the maintenance shack, left in the sun to rot. The covers that were on the NC1 pool were 1 year old. I don't know if the wheels and spools and everything that we use to cover those and uncover those are still up there, but if they are, that could be a cost saving. I have looked at that report that was mentioned about the cost saving. I looked at it 4 years ago. I submitted it, and I looked at it about a little over a year ago. So I really appreciate you trying to act on this, get these pools and hot tubs covered. And once again, if we can go back using volunteers to help out, I think that's something we can do. The pool in the villas and the ranch, I don't know how they were handled, but they're small. I think we could get volunteers to help out.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Although, shall we call for the vote? All those in favor? The study group? All right. Motion carried. Next motion up for approval is I move to approve the Budget Committee's motion to discontinue recycling of glass, steel cans, plastic containers, and cardboard until such time that is cost neutral for trash removal.
Second.
Bill, you want to explain this one, please?
Second.
You know, there's a lot of people feel budget committee meets a couple times a year, raises the rate 6%, and then takes a vacation. That's not true. As you can see, this is the second time up here with a cost savings motion. We are looking at part of getting a good look at what's going on with trash up there. And aside to that was looking at the cost of the recycling. We know that let me give you a quick rundown on what the container costs up there. Maybe get that in everybody's perspective, because there's been a lot of misinformation on that. The white recycling container is placed on our property at no cost to Happy Trails, although we do pay $125 per trip to take it to the landfill and $67 to dump it. It typically contains about 1 ton, so it's about a $192 trip every time it leaves here. The white containers, the square ones with the flip-up lids, we pay a monthly charge for those, and that charge varies whether it is picked up once a week, twice a week, or 3 times a week. The red containers we also have no charge for the containers themselves, but we pay a trip fee of $120 for that and a dumping charge of $37 a ton. And typically that one goes a little over a ton, mostly averaging about 1.5 tons on a trip. So it's a little over that. The in-ground is done on a per living unit basis. Right now we are paying for 1,571 containers, and we pay $8.50 a month for each container. As summer rolls on, that number will be rolled back because there'll be less residents, and we're negotiating with Parks and Sun to a smaller number for summer months. So anyways, there's a lot of different working pieces to the cost of things. So if we take the recycling, for instance, and I said it's $192 per trip, 2 trips per week for 7 months, and 1 trip a week for 5 months is a cost of $18,000, $18,250 to us. And that's about what we're doing right now. Assuming that Steve and Mike get a little quicker on the trigger and say, hey, we don't have as many residents here, and we can, we don't need to haul it twice all the time. And we make 2 trips a week for 5 months when we're very busy, and 1 trip a week for 7 months. That's $16,000. So somewhere the recycling is costing us between $16,000 and $18,000 a month to recycle. Now, I'm sorry, a year. Thank you. A year, yeah. A month that'd been bad, wouldn't it? Yeah. Anyways, there are some offsetting costs here. We need to transport about 36 to 40 yards of stuff out of Happy Trails every week. And that's what's in that container, because that's about a 20-yard container hauled twice. So it's 36 to 40 yards of that. And we're not going to stop eating, so we're still going to continue to generate. So that's got to be dealt with. So where's that? That's this 36 to 40 yards going to go? Ideally, it would all go into the in-ground. The in-ground is paid whether there's 2 styrofoam cups in there in your trash or whether it is full to the brim. Same price, same time. So anyways, so if we would put all the recycling would go into our in-grounds, we would save the entire $16,000 to $18,000. We know that's not going to happen. So the second consideration is none of it goes into the in-grounds, and people who haul to the end of Happy Trails Boulevard will continue to haul there. In that case, we need to have 3 6-yard containers up there to haul it away twice a week. And so half the year we would haul it twice a week, half the year we'd haul it once a week. And that would be about a $4,000 a year cost. So those savings of $16,000 to $18,000 gets reduced to savings of $12,000 to $14,000. Now we know the real world will be somewhere between those numbers. Some people will continue to put in, some people continue to take it up. So somewhere between, we're looking at a savings by stopping recycling at this point of about $15,000 a year. That's not a bad number considering the number we're looking at is roughly $100,000 to operate up there. So it's a nice 15% reduction. So our recommendation is until it does. Now, there has been some conversation about recycling in general, and Mike has indicated that El Mirage, the same truck comes down the street and picks up his recycling container and his garbage, puts it in the same truck, and drives away. So El Mirage is not recycling. Surprise is very much in the same situation. We know that that's being picked up both ways. Out of what we haul there, there's no good number to tell you what it is. It's commingled with all kinds of other things that go to the recycling center. But published numbers range between 50 and 100% is landfilled. So basically, if we think what we're putting in there is being salvaged, it's not. The vast majority of it still ends up in the landfill. So we're just paying extra money to get it to the landfill with an extra step in the process.
Thank you, Bill. That's really what I wanted to stress is when Bill explained all this to the budget committee at the committee meeting is that I know budget talks money, but what I really heard was that we're paying for recycles to go into the landfill. That's what we're really paying for. And, you know, almost all of us grew up in the era of recycle. I remember when my kids came home from elementary school and said, Mom, we've got this new program. We're going to separate our papers and we're going to separate our aluminum. We're going to separate all our stuff. And they got me, you know, to change my whole style of everything. And we had baskets and boxes and things to separate it all out. And that was 50 years ago. I don't think they're recycling, but I still am. So here it is 50 years later, and here I am separating everything out. And that's the way we are. That's who we are. And I know it's kind of an emotional thing. That's what we've been doing for 50 years. But if it's all going into the landfill, what's the point? So that's really where we've got to go. And one of the things that we did discuss at the budget meeting is if recycling comes back, and it very well may, then we'll bring it back. And we've all committed to that, that if they do bring recycling back, whether it's plastic, whether it's steel cans, whether it's whatever, then we'll bring it back too. So I wanted to make that commitment to you. Anybody else have any comments or questions or? Yes, Maynard.
Maynard, 1621. My question is, the recycling that we are doing, there's only two plastics. There's only two plastics that are recyclable in this state, but we're throwing everything in together. And, you know, and I don't know what the cost. The city of Surprise is starting to recycle. They started 2 weeks ago, according to the news on my phone. And they're having waste management as a recycling center. And they're taking their recyclables. And I'm wondering if somebody should check into that to see if they would take ours. Check into it to see if they would take our recyclables. So we don't have to stop and get to in a program where not everything is recyclable, but we're throwing everything together like they are. And we need to get signs and signs. One of the biggest things when we had that committee meeting on this trash thing were signs to tell people where they can get rid of what we don't take, what doesn't go in the garbage. Today I noticed there's microwaves in the metal, and I think they're considered
Hazardous.
considered what?
I believe that we checked on the microwaves and they are permitted in the metal.
They are
As
now.
long as it's
Okay,
not-
they weren't before.
The only thing
items
that's
that have
restricted,
Freon is what is restricted.
Okay, so they're taking
Yes.
electronics in.
Yes,
So TVs.
as long as they don't have Freon, they're taking them.
So TVs can go in the metal.
Metal items like not refrigerators, stoves, microwaves, small,
Okay.
those type of appliances, but not
Okay, it
TVs.
used to be that microwaves weren't allowed in there. Anything electronic wasn't allowed, right? Okay. And I'm just saying we need to get the conversations we have with the people we got working out there is different every time I go out there. You know, one time, we're not taking microwaves, and the next time.
I know, it changes on a dime.
But we need to get to one point where we all know what's going on,
I know,
you know?
including the city of Surprise.
Okay. Okay, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Maynard.
Hi, my name is Joy Throm, Lot 216. I moved here from the city of Minneapolis several years ago, and they had moved to co-mingled everything, and it's all sorted, and recycling does occur. I would like to know where the source was that this is just being put into a landfill. I doubt very strongly that that's the case.
It is based on state statute, state
On
law.
what?
It's by the state. Some
Each
states
state is
mandate
different.
recycling, some states don't. Arizona does not.
It also ends up in the landfill in many times because it's contaminated. It hasn't been rinsed out, or people put a plastic coated box in, that type of thing. So that's part of the issue, is the contamination factor.
So you know for sure that waste management does not post-sort things? After collection, I find that hard to believe.
We use Parks and Sons.
I meant Parks and Sons, I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know, I'm really opposed to letting recycling go. I don't know, I would like to have known what that's costing us per lot. We all pay for trash removal in, for those who are not, who are snowbirds. They pay for their recycling and trash removal one way or the other in their taxes. I just think it's really not a good move to let it go.
Well, anyone that is that strongly for recycling can recycle themselves. There are places, even on Bell Road, that you can take your recycling.
No, City of Surprise, I was doing my paper there for quite a while. They had an area where you could take it, but once they were restarting the collection by houses, they discontinued that.
I have a question. Uh, Are we saving money by doing what we're doing? Okay, compared to what our
12
state.
to 16, 12.
Okay, my question is, the money we're saving, won't that pay for the recyclables if we keep recycling? Because it's going to be hard to get people back into the swing. And it'd be just create another problem.
That's the recyclable cost. That's the site. That's $16,000 to $18,000 is what we're spending in taking the recyclables to the landfill.
But what are we saving by doing what we're doing right now?
Nothing.
We're not
It's
saving
costing
anything.
us.
We got the
It's
same amount of,
costing us.
we've got the same amount of
It's
garbage going out.
costing us, Maynard.
I can answer that. Obviously, the 6-month period is still operational. And so, and we're lagging in a month till we see the bill and all that. But it appears that for the month of February, in January, we went from 3 container pulls a week to 2 container pulls. That looks like it's going to save us about $16,000 to $18,000. Happens to be the same number. However, that does not include the cost of an employee up there. And when we put him up in there, we are still in the downside. So doing this with this. The other one I'd like to mention is the lady from Minneapolis. There is no market for steel cans west of the Mississippi River. They only go to steel mills or to a very few foundries. There is no steel mill west of the Mississippi. There are no foundries that are taking steel cans. I pioneered the technology to melt steel cans in a foundry about 20 years ago and won the governor's award for the state of Wisconsin for technology. Anyways, so I can tell you, steel cans, when they've ceased to go over to China, and they have ceased to go to China, now all go to landfills. So by the commingling of it, they go to landfill. The same thing is pretty much true with glass, plastic. And cardboard has stopped. Our vendor who used to take the cardboard had no market for it. That's why all the containers are pulled. So there's no cardboard market either. So most of the markets for the recyclables had dried up.
And I have more of a statement here. It says, please continue to recycle aluminum cans through the fun and games recycling bins at the end of Happy Trails Boulevard. So those will still be accessible and used.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to call for the vote.
This also does not impact the steel, the container of scrap metal too. That one will stay. So steel, aluminum cans, and that will still take. Yes. That goes. That goes down to downtown to a shredder, and it's shredded and shipped to Mexico. The steel hopper, as we refer, that goes to that is all goes to a shredder, and that shredder then it's shipped into Mexico. It's a different grade of steel, and that's why why Mexico will take it.
Dory Hockey, 710. 2 things, I guess. I called Park Sons. I'm a recycler. I'm avid in it. And I said, do you really recycle it? And I called and talked to the office, and they say, Yes, it does get recycled. Now that's from their office, so I don't know what happens other times. But when you stop and think about landfill, how much landfill we're taking up, sometimes we can do something different with our stuff instead of throwing it away. But that's what they said, but who knows? And number two, I'm trying to get it in my brain. Are you taking away the metal recycling up there? No, so that'll always be there. I'm a big recycler. I take lots of stuff out. I've saved a lot of stuff out of the dump and found uses for it because I know lots of people that can use stuff. So people were throwing away stuff that shouldn't be thrown away anyway. And that's sad for America, I think. But there's things that we need to re-educate, and that's what happens here, is educating people exactly. I've learned a lot just now, and I appreciate it. And I know that when you contaminate one thing in that recycling thing, they just dump all the stuff. You go up there and you find plastic bags, and you're not supposed to throw them in there. It ruins up their gumming machines. People have a can and they'll leave the junk in there and throw it in. It's like, come on, be a responsible American. Well, I'm glad you're not going to get rid of the metal because I do take stuff out. If anybody has a bike they want to get rid of, I know poor people that want them. So I guess I'm done. Thank you for letting me.
All right, on that note, we're going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Oh, roll call, yes, because it's money. I'm sorry. So, roll call. We'll start.
Roberta Ernest,
Yes.
Marilyn Sorensen,
Yes.
Becca Paulson,
Yes.
Steve Deal,
Yes.
Jennifer Ellswick,
Yes.
Sydney Evans,
Yes.
and Marie Beschen.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Now, the next one up for is asphalt. Steve, you want to?
Yes. I move to approve the bid from Copper State Pavement for the 2024 asphalt remediation plan not to exceed $1,062,212.
Second.
Just in the way of explanation, there are 4 alternatives. This is for package 4. That's the last residential area to be completed. It also includes alternatives to fix the water pond out here off of Roy Rogers at the first intersection and the low spot in the issues that we've had down on Trigger. It also includes as an alternative concrete median strips for drainage. Probably the worst thing in the world for asphalt is water on top of it. So as we have done the last 3 or 4 years, every section that we've done, we've put concrete median strips in for the water to run out and to drain. So it includes all of those things, and then it includes the approach from Happy Trails Boulevard to the ranch. That asphalt is just about gone.
Steve, I have a couple of questions. I'm looking at the estimates that each company gave us, and they're all fairly close, except for when it comes to alternate 3. And I'm not sure which one that is, but alternate 3, the estimates are 415,000, 440,000, and then the third one is 175, which is Copper State. Is that the wrong one?
Here's what I have for the 3 alternates. YSC is 253,481. Pinnacle is 440,000, and Copper State was 281,939. Mike had to send it updated proposal out. So while you're doing that, I do have a question though. So YSC, are they not the company that's been doing the majority of the asphalt paving here, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and yet I see Copper State came in just under them. Okay, because of in-house cement costs. So I'm wondering, I know we normally go with what we know. Are we willing to go a little cheaper with someone we haven't had before? And Mike, that's probably a question for you.
Yeah, so that's really been the perception here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So that's
Yes.
really been the perception here with some changes and to fill the situation in with Becca's question a little bit more. We had some errors. When Frank Civil went to got some bids, they went back to YSC paving as our primary reference in the past, and we worked with them for the last, I believe, 2 or 3 years for our asphalt projects. And they said, hey guys, you guys are subbing out your concrete costs and it's becoming astronomical for you. It's putting you guys out of the business. You know, you're never going to get these bids because Copper State's doing all of their concrete work internally. So that's what we're seeing, the big difference on price. However, Frank Civil was still a little concerned about how low the concrete prices were from Copper State. Now, mind you, we got bids the day before a BGM committee meeting trying to get this ball rolling quickly. So Frank Civil came back and said, okay, we've confirmed with Copper State that their bid was a little bit on the low side for the concrete, and we made a recommendation to YSC Paving to use a new concrete company that they had a relationship with. So they got a bid, they gave them until noon the following day, and it came in much, much, much lower. However, when you're still looking at the bids, actually Copper State came in a little bit higher on the concrete costs. YSC was able to cut it down a little bit lower. Alternate one is really the washout between YSC Paving and Copper State. And alternate one is, if I'm not incorrect, the drainage area on Wrangler and Roy Rogers. So, you know, really you can't speak to why that's such a difference. It has a lot to do with the concrete over in that area because we have to run a valley gutter to correct the water problem. But it's more of a grade thing. So it's hard to say exactly what their numbers came out as, but ultimately we wrote down on Copper State at this point because it's really just a relations thing. The numbers came in a little bit lower. It's only $16,000 roughly. Not enough to really be concerned, but from what I understand, Frank Civil Consulting has a good relationship with Copper State Pavement. They have some big contracts with City of Mesa for their transportation. They're very well known. They're a brother company from a much larger company out of California, and seems to know what they're doing. So he doesn't have any hesitations on that end either.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other further questions or comments from the board?
Can I still ask?
Yes.
Marty Whitman, lot 937. Is there a bid bond and a performance bond included in this award?
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Donna?
Donna 379. I just have a question. I noticed a crack on our street on Mustang. We just noticed it. And we don't have the concrete in the center. Are they going to be doing the concrete in the center? No? Okay.
We haven't put concrete, we put concrete in the last 4 years. Before that, any project that was done was curb to curb, crowned in the middle. And we already are seeing some cracks and issues with the curb to curb with the raised middles. So we made a decision several years ago at the BGM level and at the recommendation of Frank Civil Engineering, to put concrete in to get more life out of our asphalt.
Okay, and the other thing is I hear all about Happy Trails and Roy Rogers and in Wrangler, but nobody ever says anything about the flooding on Dale Evans. The flooding on Dale Evans is scary. Over there by Cascades and just before Cascades. I mean, I have a little car. It's like a U-boat going through that when it's really bad. And they took out those drain pipes that were over there. So I don't understand why Dale Evans isn't being looked at. I mean, I'm sure it is, but I'd like to know.
Well, we got a million and a little more in this go around, and we would like to get done with all of the residential areas and get everything back to snuff to the best of our ability, so that in future years, we're looking at maybe 100,000, 125 instead of $1 million. In
Well,
my
that makes
world,
sense.
that's real money.
That makes sense. It's
Steve.
just that it's definitely a
And
Steve,
from a
I didn't-
BGM standpoint, we have not had anybody come to us and say, we need to take a look at this. Mike, do you have any comment about Cascade?
I do have a comment in that location. We do have valley gutter there. The grade is correct when it comes down to the asphalt. Our problem in that location is the drainage off to the golf course, and we are well aware of that situation. We're working in conjunction, of course, with Jason to try to get some additional clean out in that area, because inadvertently that drainage area has just kind of got clogged over the years. There was a lot of vegetation. And I believe there was some progress in cleanup of that ditch vegetation. So we'll continue to make progress to clean out that ditch in conjunction with the golf course to improve that drainage there.
Marilyn?
Marilyn Klein, 392. Last year, they did, or 2 years ago, did Nellie Bell all the way up. There's no concrete in the middle of those streets. And there's a great big pond at the entrance of the first parking lot there that stays there for a long, long time. You can almost swim your dog in it. And it stays there for a long time. So you don't mention that one, and I'm wondering if it's being looked after too, because that stays for a whole week after it rains. And cars go in there, running through there.
We'll continue to look at all of them as we go down, but we made a commitment as a board 9 years ago to get this asphalt taken care of and get all of the residential and boulevards done. We haven't done, if we approve this bid, again, it will allow us to go back and spend $100,000 someplace next year to take care of areas. But frankly, from a committee standpoint, we've not gotten people come to the committee relative to water. Maybe they were gone the week it rained. I don't know.
Well, that's one of the mistakes of the ones that we fired, the people we fired.
And frankly, we missed the boat. We didn't jump on board with the concrete gutters at the very beginning. And, you know, that was our fault. But because we didn't do it right once doesn't, in my judgment, that shouldn't mean that we continue not to do it correctly. We know what correct is at this point. And that the last comment I'll make is that between YSC and the other vendor that's very close, you know, part of the reason we bid is to get the best price we can for the exact same product. And if we don't allow ourselves to look at a different vendor, then pretty soon we'll have one vendor. And then we'll be back to single source vendor, and I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, Steve, I have no problem with that. I'm all for trying somebody else, give it a rest. I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Brad, was there any? No, okay, all right. Darlene, you want to call for the vote?
Okay. Roberta Ernest,
Yes.
Marilyn Sorensen,
Yes.
Becca Paulson,
Yes.
Steve Deal,
Yes.
Jennifer Ellswick,
Yes.
Cindy Evans,
Yes.
and Marie Beschen.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Marie, could I have just a minute? As I indicated just a minute ago, this process, we undertook replacing asphalt 9 years ago. And in that 9-year period, we have spent over $9 million. That's an awful lot of money that hasn't gone to other things. I find it amazing that as boards change, as managers change, board presidents change, BGM people change, that all of those folks and this board had the commitment and the priority to get this done. This is a huge project. We'll never face a project with this much money. We've used special assessments. We've done 2 sections when we could, but we've always done one. And to get, by my count, and I may have missed a couple, to get at least 17 individuals over 8 different boards to agree that this was a priority project, to get 3 different BGM chairs to make that same commitment, 3 different board presidents to make that same commitment, 4, I'm sorry, because you just made it 2, and over 2 different managers. To me, it's evidence that if we put our mind to something and it's truly a commitment, we can do whatever we want to get done in this resort. So I just wanted to thank all of those people who have been involved in that over the last 9 years and not let us lose sight of the end. And I am the happiest guy in the world to be able to say there will not be $1 million budget item next year for asphalt.
Okay, my turn. As your new board president, we are getting to know each other. Some of you know me, some of you do not know me. One of the things about me that you will learn is that I tell it like it is. That can be good, that can be bad. Some people say I'm a straight shooter. Some people call me bold. One thing you'll know about me is that I am honest and I am outspoken. That can be good and that can be bad. One of the things that has come to this board in the last few weeks since I have taken over is that a number of people, not a large number, thank you very much, but a number of people have been outspoken and rude and yelling and blatant to our employees and to our volunteers. These are hardworking people. Brad and Mike and Darlene and Amy and Stephanie and Dawn put in their blood, sweat, and tears every day. Our volunteers give up pickleball, they give up golf so that they can be out at the trash every time, every day, every morning and afternoon so that we can have neat and tidy trash for us. And the last thing that they need to hear is somebody yelling and screaming at them obscenities and rudeness. That's not what we're about. That's not who we are. One of the things that I thought about is when I heard a lot about this was that how many times a lot of us say how we're different than the new generation and how we grew up with different values and stuff than the new generation. And one of the things that I remember growing up is the golden rule. And that's one thing that every one of us, I don't care if you come from the East Coast, the West Coast, the North, or the South, we all grew up with the golden rule. Our moms taught us, our grandmas taught us, our cousins, we all grew up with that golden rule. I don't have to tell you what it is because I know you know it. We all knew it. And all I'm saying is, let's dig it out. Let's don't talk about anything anymore. Let's show. Let's do actions. Let's live by that golden rule. On a lighter note, is anybody here from the Fun and Games? Please stand up for a moment, please. I'd like to acknowledge you because the title really should say Fun, Games, and Sharing. Because this wonderful group of people obviously has fun and games, but they also know how to share. Because through their generosity, I want to share with you that they take their hard-earned money that they have collected all those aluminum cans that we'll continue to do, and they have shared it with this community by buying, thank you very much, padded chairs for the neighborhood centers, and they have bought LED lights for, I believe, the library and I think the neighborhood centers so that we can sit and see better. So thank you very much. Another example of cooperation, anybody is great. Sherman here by any chance? I didn't see him. And I didn't see Adeline here. Is Adeline? Well, okay. Another example of sharing. Adeline, yes, you are here. Yes, I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to end this with a fun story. So Adeline is our wig person for theater. And right before our big production, she gathered up wigs, 180 wigs. So when you want to clean 180 wigs and when you want to wash 180 wigs, you look at your bathroom sink and you look at your kitchen sink and you go, oh my, where do I clean and wash 180 wigs? So somebody's light bulb went off and said, dogs have a lot of hair. The dog park sink. So somebody got together with the dog park and Greg Sherman, and cooperation happened, and the dog park's dog sink came to fruition. So one hand washed the other, and clean wigs happened, and it was happy. So a big thank you went out to the dog park and cooperation there. Theater give a little monetary gift to them, and they were happy. So it just goes to show you that we are a big family. We all do help each other and care for each other, and that is what Happy Trails is all about. So with that, I'll close the meeting with Darlene's comments.
I'm going to stand up because I want to face all of them. We're getting close to the end of the season. We have a couple of months left. Some people are already starting to leave and pack up. You all will be missed very sorely in the summer, but I also would ask that you remember to fill out your departure forms. You can fill them out whenever you can and just get them sent to the office. If you want to fill them out now before you leave, that's fine, as long as we have it on file. When you fill out your departure form, make sure we have a point of contact in case there's an emergency at your lot during the summer and you're not here. Okay? Yes. Yes. What we will do is at the beginning of the summer, they'll go around like they did during the beginning of the season and count how many pickups they're having to do. And we also will try and determine how many we'll have to do. And that's how we'll determine how much we have to pay them for the summer months. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And please, if you're going away from the resort and stuff, please drive safely. Enjoy your other home and think of the rest of us as we spend the hot summer here. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.